How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Shattered Lies with Nate Woodworth. So here recently a Senate report came out about Hunter Biden, okay, and some of his ties to some foreign business dealings and foreign governments, etc. Well, when Obama was president and Joe Biden was VP, there was some sketchy things going on, it seemed. Like, for example, one time Hunter Biden and Joe Biden took Air Force One to China, and a week after they get back, Hunter Biden, who had a meeting with President Xi, had all of a sudden millions of dollars put into his account at his LLC and a deal with them. And the deal was in some stuff he has no idea about. He has no background in, no experience, anything like that. Well, that's happened multiple times. He has multiple different companies that he's now doing business with, or at least was, while Joe Biden was vice president, that almost all in China and Ukraine have ties to their government or their military. Hunter has a lot of business dealings with some companies that have specific ties to Chinese military, which obviously has ties to the Chinese government. Well, I mean, you probably all have heard a little bit about that because Donald Trump, is obviously bringing it up with the presidential election coming to show or try to point out that Joe Biden has some corruption, or at least, make it people perceive it that way. Without evidence, I don't want to say for sure, so perceive it that way. Well, here, you've heard him say, like, where's Hunter? He says it all the time, and he actually says his first name as Where's and his second name as Hunter. Like, for example, he said, Where's Hunter is in Joe Biden's basement. It's kind of funny, because, Anyways, the National Review reports, this is from 2 days ago, and I wanted to do a report on it yesterday, but I didn't have all the facts. I actually thought that it was kind of like a set in stone. They had everything they needed to, technically arrest him, whether they do or not. I was kind of wrong. They don't have, everything they need. They have some stuff, but they don't. So, and that's why I held off on it. Well, the National Review reports, Senate report details Hunter Biden's extensive foreign business dealings and Obama officials' efforts to ignore them. So in 2014, Hunter was on the board in Burisma. Well, just I think it was the next day, they briefed John Carey. Well, John Carey kind of hit it. They also had a meeting with Obama and Joe Biden himself. What did they do? Nothing. They didn't mention a word about it. They said that it was, it seemed weird. It seemed controversial. There were some complaints with it. And just for the fact that he has no experience in any of this, and then all of a sudden he's got millions of dollars, going into it. So it's definitely a weird thing. It's not normal. And he said in interviews specifically that, quote, I wouldn't have gotten where I'm at without my last name. I think he said without my last name being Biden. Well, the National Review says, Senate Republicans released a report Wednesday detailing the extensive business dealings that Hunter Biden pursued with politically connected foreign nationals while his father, Joe Biden, was serving as vice president. Now, before I keep going on this, actually, there are articles and stuff that I found on this, but the day that this happened, I watched CNN. I had it, in the background, and actually watched and listened for most of the day. I listened all morning, and I had the noise off all day to see if there be any headlines or anything like that. Nothing. I didn't see a single thing. Now, I didn't watch yesterday. They might have, reported on it yesterday, but I highly doubt it. There wasn't very many that I seen report on it except for Fox News. And most of the articles that I do find, you can tell they're political. Like, I seen one from, I think it was Breitbart, that said, new Senate report shows ties, blah, 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 bad news. And then I looked at the New York Times, for example, right here. Republican inquiry finds no evidence of wrongdoing by Biden. So you can tell it's definitely on political lines. Now, the reason I bring that up is because Donald Trump Jr., and as we all know, Donald Trump Jr. and Donald Trump, before he was elected, had a lot of, businesses in other countries. and they did business overseas. Well, Donald Trump, our president, stopped. Donald Trump Jr. didn't. Don't quote me. I'm not sure if he still is today. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. But because he did, they grilled him on. The media was relentless trying to get him, impeached, and saying that it was a conflict of interest, and just saying that it was not okay all around, and all this stuff, that they were colliding with other countries, and we all know about the Russia hoax that lasted for years. So I just want to put that out, that this shows the bias in the media. Well, I'll go on. So the 87-page interim report is the product of a months-long probe in which members of the Senate, Homeland Security, and Finance Committees, so not just Republican, the GOP. Now, a lot of places reported it was just the GOP, blah, blah, blah. It's a political hit. I mean, when Joe Biden's interviewed about it, he's been asked a couple times, not very often, but a couple times. And what he does is he gets mad, as Joe Biden does. He has a temper, and he goes on, this is just Trump, trying to push away from him. Look what he's doing, and just trying to divert attention and all that. Nonsense. To me, this is a huge deal, because if Hunter Biden has ties, they obviously check Joe Biden extensively, right? They look into his background, his money, his bank accounts, to make sure that he's not corrupt. But they don't to family members. So what is stopping Hunter from making these deals, getting the money, and then letting, his father use the money? I don't like corruption. That's one of the reasons I do like the president, because he's not in it for the money. He's actually lost billions of dollars and, tainted his name since he came into it. I really think he's trying to do this for the people. I think he is actually trying to help us. And the way the Democrat Party is going today, I really think we need it. A lot of people don't understand why his base loves him so much. Is because he fights back. He's exposed the media for what they are, and a lot of people who don't feel like they have a voice feel like he is their voice. He is fighting for them. He's fighting back to tell people the media is not who they say they are. CNN, the most trusted name in news. That's false. Most of them are pretty much just a wing of the Democratic Party, and that's pretty much a fact. So right here they say, like I said, the Homeland Security and Finance Committees and their staff reviewed more than 45,000 pages of Obama administration records and interviewed 8 witnesses, many of whom are current or former U.S. officials. The Treasury records acquired by the chairman show potential criminal activity relating to transactions among and between Hunter Biden, his family, and his associations with Ukrainians, associates with Ukrainian, right? With Ukraine, Russia. That's weird. They worded it that way. With Ukraine, Russia, Kazakh. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. And Chinese nationals. There's actually a document on Blaze TV. I'm sorry, not a document, a documentary on Blaze TV. I believe it's also on Blaze TV's YouTube that goes into detail about China, Hunter Biden and the Biden family, with their ties to Chinese, involvement and other countries, like Ukraine, because of the fact that Hunter Biden had no background in any of this. He had nothing. He knew nothing about this. He had no degrees. He had, he didn't have any experience in it. So it really is, kind of weird. So there's a documentary on Blaze TV that goes into it. I think it's called "Riding the Dragon." If you want to look it up, or get on Blaze TV and look at it. But otherwise, I do believe all of it, if not most of it, if not all of it, is on Blaze TV's YouTube page. But anyways, so it goes, the report reads, in particular, these documents show that Hunter Biden received millions of dollars from foreign sources as a result of business relationships that he built during the period when his father was vice president of the United States and after. That Hunter Biden served on the board of the Ukrainian gas company, which, like I said, no experience in, no background in, no schooling in. He served on the board of the Ukrainian gas company Burisma Holdings, while his father was a leader of the Obama administration's efforts in Ukraine efforts in Ukraine is well established, but the $50,000 per month board seat was just one component of the younger Biden's foreign ventures during the Obama years. According to Treasury Department records obtained by the committee, he also pursued business dealings with politically connected Russian, Chinese, and Kazakh nationals. Like I said, a lot of these are with, businesses or business with directly the governments of these countries or the military of these countries. In the course of his globe-trotting business career, Hunter Biden racked up more than $4 million in questionable financial transactions with well-connected foreigners. He partnered with Chinese businessmen connected to the Chinese Communist Party and the People's Liberation Army. He took cash from the wife of the corrupt former mayor of Moscow. He then sent funds to Ukrainian and Russian nationals living in the U.S. that are linked to what appears... Now, this is where it gets crazy, okay? Linked to what appears to be an Eastern European prostitution or human trafficking ring. They have the records of the funds. They have the receipts that what appears to be, at the very least, prostitution, but what likely is human trafficking rings. I don't even know what to say to that. Because if that is true, and they really were briefed, and if Joe Biden knew about this, that is dangerous. Trump is literally putting billions or millions and billions of dollars into catching human trafficking. They've caught tons. I know several people who weren't going to vote for Trump, but they are now because of his involvement in trying to stop human trafficking around the world. Around the world, like a lot of countries he has cracked down and said, hey, we will do this, we will put sanctions on you, we'll do this, we'll stop funding you if you don't start cracking down on it, and they did. But it was only Hunter's work for Burisma that caught the attention of Obama administration State Department officials who said the role created counterintelligence and extortion concerns. So, do you remember when Joe Biden publicly said, I told him if you didn't fire him, then I would withhold the money, and I believe it was like $1 billion, and that was the prosecutor. Well, guess what? They ended up firing him, and he gave him the money. That's a quid pro quo, which is illegal. Okay, so acting deputy chief of mission at the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv, Ukraine, George Kent warned Vice President Joe Biden's office in early 2015 that Hunter's work for Burisma undermined the administration's anti-corruption efforts in the country, since the gas company's owner, Mykola Klavatsky, who Kent described as an odious oligarch in his testimony, is famously corrupt. He is very corrupt. Everybody knows that in the government. Furthermore, the presence of Hunter Biden on the Burisma Board was very awkward for all U.S. officials pushing an anti-corruption agenda in Ukraine, Kent wrote in an email to his colleagues in 2016. Kent told Joe Biden's staff that someone needed to talk to Hunter Biden, and he should step down from the board of Burisma, according to the report. But it doesn't appear Kent's request was carried out, since Hunter remained on the board throughout the rest of Obama's term. Now, remember when Joe Biden was asked about this a couple years back in an interview? He said he didn't know anything about his ties to these. He knew nothing about it, all this and that it was his business, all that. Well, he was briefed. He told Joe Biden and Obama. He was briefed, right? They told John Carey. He was briefed right here. The day after Hunter joined the Burisma Board in May 2014, Carey's stepson, Christopher Heinz, who is a business partner of Hunter's, emailed his father, like I said, that's John Carey, to inform him of Hunter's appointment to the board. To distance himself from the decision, Carey's staff followed up with a briefing on the press inquiries prompted by Hunter's board seat, according to their testimony before the committees. And right here it says he's got involvements with Russia, Kazakhstan, China. This is not good. If these are all true, right here, Ye's company would eventually funnel $4.8 million to Biden's law firm over the following year. The company wired another $100,000 here. Hunter filed for another $100,000 line of credit with them. If they acquired a $9.1 billion deal. In all these, most of these places are tied to China and Air Force too, right? Or so I'm sorry. They staying in after flying on China. Okay. But a lot of them were tied. Right here, Hunter initially joined the BHR board in an unsalaried capacity, but ultimately acquired a 10% stake in the company in 2017. Like I said, with no experience on any of this. None of this he had experience on. He didn't have a job before that. He relied on his father. I mean, right here, many of Hunter Biden's Chinese dealings flowed through Ye Jianming, the founder of CEFC China Energy Co. Ltd., a Chinese energy company that reported in excess of $33 billion in revenue in 2013. The company was acquired by the state in 2017, but even before that, it hired a number of former top officials from state-owned energy companies, had layers of Communist Party committees across its subsidiaries, more than at many private Chinese companies, according to Reuters. So they had a lot of top officials. They were directly linked to the Chinese Communist Party, just like many of these places were. The connections to the CCP and the People's Liberation Army. For this one, through Thornton LLC, Archer formed business relationship with a number of wealth Chinese nationals. So what I'm saying is, right here, Hunter Biden was introduced to the CCP elite and those businessmen who operate with their blessing. This is dangerous, because there's tons. Do the research. There's tons and stuff, tons of companies, tons of foreign governments that he is tied to, and when you ask Joe Biden about it, he says, "No, I have no idea." Now that it's out, he just gets mad and says, "Trump is just trying to distract from the real problem. What he's doing is blah blah blah." You know, he has a temper, and I can't wait for the debates, because all he has to do is talk about this, and it's over, because Joe Biden will blow a gasket. He has a crazy temper. Now, like what I wanted to show you was Republican inquiry finds no evidence of wrongdoing by Biden. They're talking about Joe Biden. I wanted to point that out before I showed you that it was on political lines. I wanted to point out they're talking about Joe Biden. So that is correct. It does point questions towards if the reports were to Obama, John Carey, and Biden, what else did he know? Was he benefiting? Stuff like that. And then I told you about the Hunter Biden received a $3.5 million payment from the ex-Moscow mayor's wife, and I believe that's the money that he used to pay for the prostitutes and stuff like that. So in 2015, he also received several $100,000 from Burisma, several of which were listed as part of a loan agreement. I mean, he was fired. Yuri Luzkov, who served as mayor of Moscow, was fired for alleged corruption in 2010. The report details how Biden's business received a $3.5 million payment from Burisma in February 2014, which is described to be consultancy work. I'm telling you, the Senate needs to find more into this. They have to, because the American people deserve to know this. I appreciate everybody watching. I just wanted to touch on that, because to me this is a huge deal, and it is dangerous if Joe Biden is involved with this in any way, shape, or form, if he even knows about it. This is definitely a conflict of interest, and with China growing so rapidly, is a huge competitor, is threatening us, tensions are high, we cannot have somebody in office who has a conflict of interest. And if that's a conflict of interest, he's not going to crack down like Trump is on China. So I appreciate everybody watching. I love politics. I just started this channel here not long ago, and so if you guys could support me by liking, subscribing, it helps me get outreach and grow. If you could follow me down here at Lies Shattered on Twitter, I'd really appreciate that. But yeah, thank you, and you guys have a great day. I will have another video either up tonight or tomorrow. I will have a couple more, and I will make sure that I'm getting a video or two up a day. All right, thank you. Have a great day, guys.